Thank you so much to our discussants, and now we have some questions. Okay, here's one. Have other cities ever reorganized their school system so that the segregated city schools were integrated with schools in the suburbs? Can the Baltimore City Public Schools be divided up and absorbed into the various county districts that are near the city? Did you hear that? No?
No. Hear you.
Are you hearing me out there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the speakers aren't coming to you. So the question is, maybe I can come over here and tell you. What are your thoughts about the city schools being integrated? Okay. What are your thoughts? Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the city schools being integrated in with the county schools to achieve greater integration? Lisa, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah. I think I was pretty clear, but I will reiterate. Let me reintroduce myself. I would say, listen, anything is possible philosophically. The politics of having that happen would be really interesting to watch, more interesting than the politics we're currently observing, I would say. But again, what I would challenge us to consider is if, let's say, for example, city students were integrated into Baltimore County, and there was no work done around understanding the city, understanding the historical legacy of all that's transpired in the city, understanding the conditions that are shaping the lives of our students and families. If there was none of that work done, I'm not altogether sure what we expect would be the outcome. And so there is some work. I'm not suggesting that we should not be looking at the diversity of our schools. I actually believe that diverse schools are stronger schools. Diverse in many different ways, for lots of different reasons. But someone said this earlier, we have to be prepared for the diversity in order to actualize the opportunity, right? And oftentimes we're celebrating the diversity, but the work to get us prepared to actually maximize it, like those conversations never happen. So I would offer, if we do the work, we could do incredible things.
Other large metropolitan areas have tried mergers of districts and ways to create more integrated settings. But I do agree with Lisa. It's just a starting point. You know, to create a diverse environment is only the starting point for where the real work begins.
And I also agree with creating a diverse environment as well.
Okay, this next question, I think all of you will have a take on it, and that is, how do we educate the educators? And specifically, to see that our young black youth need guidance, as opposed to seeing our young black youth as troublemakers who need to be removed from the classroom or potential criminals who need to be feared.
Okay. You want to say? Go ahead.
Well, I think we should do our very best to keep teachers out of the classroom that have that attitude to start with. And I don't think you can, very difficult to train somebody not to think that way. So I think teacher disposition is very important. But I've made the point in many settings that one of the problems in transforming educator preparation is that most teachers, or the vast majority of teachers, go into teaching because they fared pretty well in the traditional system. They didn't get to where they are by being a problem to the traditional system. They got to where they are because they did pretty well in the system and they liked it. They liked it enough to want to stay. I mean, I liked it enough to stay in the university my entire career. So, you know, to get teachers to think beyond the experience that they had to the experience that a set of students from much more diverse backgrounds are having is sometimes a challenging thing.
Yeah, and I just want to start by challenging the dichotomy that's sort of implicit in that question, which is good teachers do this and bad teachers do that, right? And I want us to reflect on, particularly, you know, our experience in education, if we are educators, how many experiences that we had that truly helped us to appreciate the promise of diverse students. Like, have you even been to a place that was all students of color and everyone was successful? Have you been to an urban area where the school was not labeled persistently dangerous or had some other negative connotation assigned to it? And if you're drawing a blank, then that is why teachers come into classrooms unprepared to meet the needs of our students who are of color oftentimes, particularly males, because it's not like they've had the kinds of exposure that would help them to see them as anything else. And this notion that the training that I provide you that is steeped in this universal way of being, this universal way of understanding the world, will sufficiently cover all of the challenges you have if you walk into a racially, socioeconomically diverse classroom is flawed, and it keeps bearing itself out. So I would actually say what we need to do, and some of the work that we're doing is about working with colleges and universities, because we know that the teacher preparation programs need to be transformed. But here's the thing, so do the leadership preparation programs. Like, this is not a blame the teachers conversation. This is a conversation about the system. And by the way, the system is people, right? So when we increase the capacity of people, we change the capacity of the system. Right? And that oftentimes gets lost in this discourse, and then it feels like this is a blame issue. No, this is a systemic problem that we have across a myriad of institutions. So work around cultural competency, where we don't just talk about the easy parts of culture, we actually talk explicitly about race. We have people do their own personal work around how they understand race and their own racial identity, is how you get teachers to stop looking at black boys like they're criminals.
Good. Thank you. So we have a couple more minutes. Very good. We're going to go to 2:45, so that means we have time for one question and a few quick answers. So I'm going to combine the next two questions I have. One is, how do educators promote a role in health and equity in public schools? But then combined with that, how is that not just the teacher's problem? How is that problem broader? What role does the community play? Is it just educators that can solve this problem? David, do you want to start?
So I think.
Oh, Verlando. Oh, good. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it takes. No, it shouldn't be just educators, but it should be community residents, community partners, everyone. I think that when you bring everyone to the discussion table, people will feel like they have a voice to be heard, and I think that it could empower others to wanting to advocate for their own community.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. We've got about a minute and a half for some more answers.
Yeah. And so what I would say is that certainly what needs to happen in education, I would argue that what we really need is a transformation in education. And so as we transform it, we need to look at the broader array of what are all the services and supports that are needed to make a school successful. So, of course, there would be community involvement. There would be the involvement of healthcare agencies, social service agencies, etc. As you do a needs assessment to see what are the factors that are shaping the experiences of children. So this is not just schoolwork, but the ways that in which schools are organized need to be fundamentally transformed so that those other service providers can be a part of the support.
Great. David, last word?
I think there's some great emerging models around the country of community-based schools where we're thinking about schools very differently than just delivering the academic experience. We're thinking about schools as really creating a level playing field for for all children and to begin to personalize that experience to the needs of every student regardless of their background. We shouldn't be having to categorize and characterize students in groups any longer. You know, we're living in an age where everything has been individualized, and we have systems of mass customization that run across our economy that we really haven't been able to implement successfully in schools. Every child should have an IEP. Every child should have a goal and strategies to reach those goals. And we have the capacity to do that, and proof points where we can think much more holistically about children and their development. We just need the resolve to get it done for all children.
Thank you so much. Big round of applause, please. Richard Rothstein, David Andrews, Lisa Wilson, Verlando Brown.